स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen from the Gospel. Sri Ramakrishna has given many instructions for us to practice spirituality in our life. So the topic I have chosen today is joy is the mainspring of life. So joy and not sorrow is the mainspring of life. The Upanishads also declare, Taittiriya Upanishad in Bhruguvalli, Anandadhyeva kalvimani bhutani jayante anande najatani jivanti anandam priyantabi samvishanti. So the Upanishad says, from joy have sprung all these creatures. Having sprung from joy, they live by joy, they pursue joy throughout and finally merge in joy. So joy is the alpha and the omega of existence. In another place, the Shruti asks, Kohe vanyat kapranyat yadesha akasha anando nasyat. Who can breathe and who can live if the whole of space were not filled with bliss? On the negative side, we are warned about the perils we are running by pursuing the petty allurements of the senses. But on the positive side, we are shown the glory and the joy of a life dedicated to the divine. The negative is significant only to the extent it serves to underline the positive. When we have placed our feet on the positive road, we have also walked away from the negative. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, proceed towards the east and you will be moving away from the west. The miseries of the world are certainly not an illusion, they are harsh realities. But the way to overcome them is not to take up arms against them and get more entangled in them in the bargain, but to turn our faces resolutely towards the divine and progress in the path of brightness. That the highest joy can fill every moment of our lives, despite the apparently unpromising worldly environments in which we find ourselves, is best illustrated in the life of Sri Ramakrishna himself. Today, as he prophesies, his picture is adored in hundreds of thousands of homes all the world over. His words are treasured by scholars and all sections of people alike, and vast humanitarian and cultural activities are undertaken in Sri Ramakrishna's name. But what was the material condition in which his sojourn of half a century on this earth took place? He was a rustic, almost illiterate, whose profession was that of a low-paid priest in a temple built by a low-caste woman. He carefully avoided all formal schooling, yet his philosophy has come to be the touchstone for testing the validity of all philosophic positions, ancient and modern. When moot questions in philosophy are being inconclusively discussed by erudite specialists, suddenly the atmosphere becomes clear and luminous when someone quotes a saying of Sri Ramakrishna in relation to the particular point under debate. This unlettered villager has both saved to us parables and similes galore, which are as simple as they are revealing. To the vexed problem, for instance, whether God has form or not, Sri Ramakrishna smilingly points out that God is aqua. He can be liquid as water or solid as ice. As water, he has no form, but as ice, he assumes as many forms as there are aspirants. The different forms of ice, as also the formless water, constitute but one reality. Incidentally, Sri Ramakrishna also stresses that the different religions need not quarrel with one another because each can have its own conception of the form of God. Similarly, he explains by means of a lovely simile the varieties of religious experience resulting in the same self-realization. If you want to have the benefit of a dip in the Ganges, you can get down any ghat or no ghat at all, from Gangotri on the Himalayan heights to Ganga Sagar in the Bay of Bengal. The result of the dip is the same. No one expects you to dip yourself through the entire length of the river. So too, if the sadhaka manages to contact the divine at any point, he will be fulfilled. But then, The position of an Acharya is different. The man who says he knows the Ganges should be familiar with its whole length. The Acharya's experience of the divine should be varied and extensive. This rustic, who learned no formal philosophy, however practiced the most incredible spiritual disciplines, through which he realized in his own person the vast truths lying buried in the scriptures. But all these austerities in no way took away his joy of life. He was ever and anon the laughing philosopher. Even in his boyhood, he was noted for his love of fun. We recall the trick he played on a conceited neighbor, Durgada's Pine. It was the boast of this zamindar that the ladies of his family observed the strictest purda and that no male outside the family had ever seen their faces. Young Gadadhar, Sri Ramakrishna, challenged this statement and promised to disprove it. After some days, one evening, when it was getting dark, a weaver woman came to the pine house, completely veiled and carrying a basket. She requested Durgadas to permit her to spend the night in his house. She had been left behind in the market by her companions. Durgadas asked the woman to go to the inner apartment and stay the night there if the ladies had no objection. And the weaver woman went in and was readily accommodated, as the ladies were captivated by her charming manners and amusing conversation. Hours later, Gadadhara's elder brother Rameshwar came to the porch of the pine house and called out, "Gadadhar, Gadadhar, where are you?" Immediately there was a loud response from the inner apartment, "Brother, I am coming." Only when the stranger of the night came out into the light did Durgadas Pine realize how dramatically his legs had been pulled. The weaver woman was only the boy Gadadhar, artistically draped in a sari and suitably veiled. The eagle eyes and proud intelligence of the zamindar had not been able to see through the trick. The whole village roared with laughter when this incident became public. As we go through the pages of the Gospel, we are taken aback by the periodical changes we find in the aspect of Sri Ramakrishna. One moment, he may be elucidating with crystal clarity and scientific precision great varieties of the Vedanta. The listeners would feel that they are listening to a Shukadeva or a Vyasa Maharshi. But the very next moment, when one of the boy disciples enters, he may turn to him with a bewitching smile and challenge him to a wrestling bout. The highest wisdom in no way held Sri Ramakrishna back from plunges into pure jollity. How much of fun and frolic, humor do we enjoy as we pursue M's description of the scenes he witnessed at Dakshineshwar and elsewhere. Sri Ramakrishna has himself admitted that he prayed to the Divine Mother not to make him a dry sadhu. For him, life was full of sap, the sap of divine joy. Sri Ramakrishna, it must be remembered, came not to sermonize but to demonstrate. Precious as are the words that dropped from his lips, still more sweet and captivating was the life he lived, exemplifying what he taught. He always created an atmosphere of joy wherever he was. It was this joy that really drew men and women of all ages and all stations in life and transformed them into blessed beings. Swami Brahmanand, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, has confided the joy we were unable to get through japa, we got by merely being in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. The Holy Mother, Sri Sharda Devi, has described how when she was serving the Master at Dakshineshwar, it was as if a jar of nectar filled her heart. She usually lived in the narrow Nahabat, and a screen on the veranda cut her view off from all that was going on in the Master's room across the courtyard. Eager to enjoy the fun and the frolic going on there, Sharda Devi made a small hole on the screen for looking through. Sri Ramakrishna, whose eagle eyes missed nothing, one day drew the attention of the young devotees to the screen at the Nahabat and asked them to note how every day the hole was becoming bigger and bigger. Literally, the Holy Mother was every day seeing and understanding more and more of a strange consort in whom divinity expressed itself through song and dance, laughter and mimicry. It is said that whenever Sri Ramakrishna narrated a factual incident, he would imitate to perfection the various dramatis personae involved in that incident. His audience would roar with laughter at the superb histrionics. In fact, almost all the parables and similes he used in order to illustrate great spiritual truths invariably contained a good dose of humor. The mother and the daughter keeping fast in the same house on different days of the week, the Bhutaganas of Shiva and the Parshadas of Vishnu hectically quarreling with one another long after their masters had composed their differences. The 6 blind men describing the elephant variously as a pillar, a fan, and whatnot. All these stories are sugar-coated potent pills. We swallow a pill for its sweetness, and then, unknown to us, the pill starts working. This was what Swami Vivekananda meant when he said that on any parable of the Master, Vivekananda said, he could give a non-stop explanation for 6 days. The Upanishads describe Brahman as rasa. In Sri Ramakrishna's daily life and in his most casual doings and sayings, we can see how the rasa, the taintless joy, permeates his entire being. Even during his last days, the love of fun has never deserted him. He was suffering the most excruciating pain in the throat because of the cancer, and speaking was an agony. So the disciples attending on him were strictly enforcing the no visitors rule. No visitors. Well, one day, a girl belonging to Girish Chandra's theatre had been blessed by Sri Ramakrishna when Sri Ramakrishna visited the theatre long back. She was now anxious to have a glimpse of the Master. But how to meet? It is not easy to go. So she resorted to a trick. She dressed herself up as a European gentleman. She called before the Master's room at the Kasipur Gardens. How could the young boys who looked after the Master deny permission to a member of the ruling class? They saw some European gentleman has come. So he was requested to go in, but not speak much to the Master. What was their surprise when they heard peals of laughter coming from the Master's room, which the European gentleman had just entered. Sri Ramakrishna thoroughly enjoyed the ruse by which the girl had outwitted his zealous guards and reached him. Fun was never barred by the Master, even in the midst of the greatest physical pain. It is also necessary to recall here Swami Turiyananda's remark and the Master's response. Sri Ramakrishna asked Hari, that is Turiyananda, what he thought about the dreaded disease he was suffering from. Hari, in whose mind there was not a shadow of a doubt about the divinity of the Master, replied that the Master could not suffer. He was an infinite ocean of bliss. He must be only play acting. Sri Ramakrishna burst out laughing and said, the rascal has found me out. In his majestic Leela, the terminal disease also was only a dramatic episode. To one immersed in the divine, pleasure and pain are not anti-polar conditions. The Vijnani that Sri Ramakrishna was, he had climbed to the terrace and convinced himself that the steps by which he had come up were made of the same brick and mortar with which the terrace had been fashioned. In that equi-angled vision, what we consider sorrow and pain lose their negative qualities and shine forth as the joy that knows no shackles. It is entirely different from the pleasures we experience and cherish. With us, pleasure and sorrow are but the upwards and reverse of the same coin. We cannot have the one without the other. But the joy of the Vijnani subsumes and transcends both these fragmentary conditions and expresses itself in a ceaseless delight flowing from the eternal fount of joy. Sri Ramakrishna was truly a child of the Divine Mother. And for the child, what is there but delight in the love of the Mother? As the poet says, when the truth of God is understood, how can there be any mood except that of joy? Joy is not mere titillation of the nerves or sentimental euphoria. It is a solid, positive attitude that apprehends the eternal among the fleeting, multifarious non-eternals. That was why Sri Ramakrishna deprecated all talk about sin. He used to say that even in prayer, one should not consider oneself a sinner. You become what you think. If you go on dilating on sin, we shall only get deeper and deeper in the color of sin. Think instead in terms of increasing goodness. As Swami Vivekananda put it, we progress not from error to truth, but from lower truths to higher truths. And our motto should be, from little joys to the greatest. Step away from the finite pleasures to grasp the infinite bliss. Sri Ramakrishna said to Manilal, now and then man catches a glimpse of his real self and becomes speechless with wonder. At such times he swims in an ocean of joy. It is like suddenly meeting a dear relative. The other day, Sri Ramakrishna said, as I was coming here in a carriage, I felt like that at the sight of Babu Ram. I felt that immense ocean of joy. When Shiva realizes his own self, he dances about in joy, exclaiming, what am I? What am I? Sri Ramakrishna said to Pandit Shashadhar, it is a joy to merge the mind in the indivisible Brahman through contemplation. And it is also a joy to keep the mind on the Leela, the relative, without dissolving it in the absolute. Swami Brahmanji said, to live in God is pure joy. As your mind becomes absorbed in meditation, a fountain of joy will spring up within you. Swami Premanji said, the source of all joy is the name of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Shivananji said, I will tell you, my son, you will get the highest joy from the Master's name itself. You will get everything from his name, be it spiritual ecstasy or God absorption. But everything takes its own time. Swami Adbhutanji, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he also said, you know how sweet is the joy within Maya. Ordinary people are enchanted by it. They do not even think for a moment how intensely sweeter is God, whose Maya is so sweet. So, joy is the mainspring of life. Though that's a fact, still people are constantly undergoing suffering because their mind is diverted not on the spiritual but on the external things. So mind is getting involved, entangled in things which are not permanent, in things which bring them misery. So man has lost control over his mind and the senses because of his total involvement in the material world, neglecting completely his spiritual dimension. So it is very important to reformat ourselves if we are to really enjoy the real joy in life. Everything is within us, but if we don't know how to make use of the body and mind, then we are only to blame. Swami Vivekananda has composed a poem. In one of his complete works it is said, me only to blame for everything that happens, good or bad. So everything is within me. The gold is within me. But I have to find it out, discover it. Then you will see how immensely you will be joyful. The moment you develop a taste in spiritual life, from that moment you enjoy real happiness. The happiness which never exhausts you. The happiness which uplifts you. And it makes you more and more inspired to go in spiritual path. So spiritual life is a real life. Because we are not pursuing a spiritual life, we are in trouble in so many ways. So Sri Ramakrishna pointedly, clearly says that one should divert his mind towards divine. One should format his mind properly, and then everything will be set right. So let us try to follow Sri Ramakrishna's life. He himself was personification of great joy. From the beginning to the end of his life, Sri Ramakrishna exemplified happiness in his life. He is a personification of happiness. So one great sign of the great saint is he will be always cheerful, peaceful, calm, tranquil. These are all very good indications, and all loving, irrespective of caste, color, creed. Anybody, any being is lovable. That is the indication. People immediately can recognize that such is the great saint. So all the masters have shown us the way, only we are not ready to follow the spiritual path. We take a long time. When the time comes, we feel it is too late to start the spiritual practice, and life is over. So like that, people carry on their life from birth to death, from death to birth, goes on in cycling. So let us try to follow Sri Ramakrishna's teachings and make our life fulfilled. Page 838. Master said, smilingly, if you can be ill, then why should we wonder about our illnesses? Lakshmana was amazed to see that Rama could not lift his bow on account of his grief for Sita. Even Brahman weeps entangled in the snare of the five elements. Master Mahashaya said, Jesus Christ too wept like an ordinary man at the suffering of his devotees. Master said, how was that? M said, there were two sisters, Mary and Martha. Lazarus was their brother. All three were devoted to Jesus. Lazarus died. Jesus was on his way to their house. One of the sisters, Mary, ran out to meet him. She fell at his feet and said weeping, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Jesus wept to see her cry. Then Jesus went to the tomb of Lazarus and called him by name. Immediately, Lazarus came back to life and walked out of the tomb. Master said, but I can't do those things. M. That's because you don't want to. These are miracles, therefore you are not interested in them. These things draw people's attention to their bodies. Then they do not think of genuine devotion. That's why you don't perform miracles. But there are many similarities between you and Jesus Christ. The Master said smilingly, what else? M said, you don't ask your devotees to fast or practice other austerities. You don't prescribe hard and fast rules about food. Christ's disciples did not observe the Sabbath, so the Pharisees took them to task. Thereupon Jesus said, they have done well to eat. As long as they are with the bridegroom, they must make merry. Master said, what does that mean? M said, Christ meant that as long as the disciples live with the incarnation of God, they should only make merry. Why should they be sorrowful? But when he returns to his own abode in heaven, then will come the days of their sorrow and suffering. Master said smilingly, do you find anything else in me that is similar to Christ? M said, yes, sir. You say the youngsters are not yet touched by lust and gold. They will be able to assimilate instruction. It is like keeping milk in a new pot. The milk may turn sour if it is kept in a pot in which curd has been made. Christ also spoke like that. Master said, what did he say? M said, if new wine is kept in an old bottle, the bottle may crack. If an old cloth is patched with a new cloth, the old cloth tears away. Further, you tell us that you and the mother are one. Likewise, Christ said, I and my Father are one. Beautiful comparison. Master said smilingly, anything else? M said, you say to us, God will surely listen to you if you call on him earnestly. So also Christ said, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Master said, well, if God has incarnated himself again, is it a fractional or a partial or a complete manifestation of God? Some say it's a complete manifestation. M said, sir, I don't quite understand the meaning of complete or partial or fractional incarnation. But I have understood, as you explained it, the idea of a round hole in a wall. Master, tell me about that. Tell me about it. M said, there's a round hole in the wall. Through it one is able to see part of the meadow on the other side of the wall. Likewise, through you one sees part of the infinite God. Master said, true. You can see 5 or 6 miles of the meadow at a stretch. M finished his bath in the Ganges and went to the Master's room. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. He asked Latu to give him the rice prasad of Jagannath. The Master stood near him and said, take this prasad regularly. Those who are devotees of God do not eat anything before taking the prasad. Yatishwanji also used to have Jagannath prasad in his room. He would always take 1 grain of rice. M said, yesterday I got some prasad of Jagannath from Balram Babu's house. I take 1 or 2 grains daily. M saluted the Master and took his leave. Sri Ramakrishna said to him tenderly, "Come early in the morning tomorrow. The hot sun of the rainy season is bad for the health." Let's stop. So, in order to taste the real happiness, one should take to spiritual life. That's the theme. That's all. You can't have real happiness in the way you ordinarily live. A kind of happiness you have, but a glimpse of happiness is only in spiritual life. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath my very souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the free make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.